More than 100 years ago, in the heart of South Texas, leaders with a bright vision for the future called on lawmakers to share in their vision to transform the region into a place where tradition, innovation, and opportunity meet. That vision can be attributed to the founders of the King Ranch, Henrietta and Richard King.
And I think, our family has always been very committed and dedicated to education and the importance of education as a family or as, from an employee standpoint and a community standpoint.
It started back with Richard King and Henrietta. She loved education. She wanted to make sure everybody got educated. And she not only, Mrs. King had a vision herself, and to where, when she gave the land, she just didn't give the land to build the school. She was planning the future.
The collective efforts of the Kings and regional supporters led to the formation of South Texas State Teachers College, the first institution of higher learning in South Texas. In that moment, Mr. Geo F. Williams wrote in the Kingsville Record, quote, "Kingsville is just fronting a great future. At least it is to be the seat of a great school. We are not building for today or tomorrow, but for the next 100 years." The 276 students in the inaugural class that gathered on June 8, 1925, would go on to become the region's earliest educators. They could not have known that a century later, the institution that started with just one building would have grown to encompass 250 acres, add nearly 80 buildings, awarded nearly 75,000 degrees, pioneered research in conservation and engineering, won national championships, and changed our corner of the world. With the grit and tenacity typical of the mascot selected by those first students and faculty, South Texas State Teachers College opened wide the doors of opportunity.
My dad and my mother, he was already married, and they moved here along with his mother and dad and brothers and sisters because his father wanted them to have a college education. They were all lined up, and and he was the first one in line. And Vera Spinks was the second one in line. And my dad, he said, "Vera, ladies first." And so she registered first, and then he registered second.
By 1929, the success of the university's first years led to the expansion of educational offerings by the 1930s to include agriculture and engineering.
For decades, A&I and A&M-Kingsville have been an anchor for engineering in South Texas. And a lot of the growth in South Texas, and really in Texas in general, was led by engineers who graduated from the university.
Within a little over a decade, engineering continued to grow, thanks in large part to Frank H. Dodderwhite, who launched one of the nation's first natural gas engineering programs. The students he mentored went on to lead Texas' iconic oil and gas industry and became known as Doc's Boys.
I am one of Doc's Boys. When I got out in '82, Doc's Boys was a really alive and thriving network in the oil and gas business. I mean, there were Doc's Boys sprinkled around and running, a lot of oil and gas companies.
By the 1940s, the university's agricultural program continued to grow, extending its research on the state's vital citrus industry to Weslaco with the establishment of the Citrus Center. The program provided critical support for growers, focusing on all steps of the citriculture industry. This work created the foundation for the development of new citrus varieties, including the Star Ruby in 1970 and the Rio Red in 1984. The 1950s at the university was marked by an uptick in enrollment, thanks in large part to the Korean War-era GI Bill. It was also the 1950s that the university's ROTC program began, launching a chapter in our institution's history dedicated to service and country.
I had wanted to be a soldier since I was a child. I went to University of Texas initially in a 4-year program and then transferred here for the other 3 years. and it was exciting. It was a vibrant program. We had assistant professors of military science that were Vietnam War veterans, so they were very experienced. They were encouraging. We looked up to them as role models, and so they built into us this excitement about wearing the uniform. They embedded in us a patriotism and the duty and the sacrifice, and the willingness to sacrifice at least that was going to be needed for the rest of my career. And
it was also in the 1950s that a man who would go on to become a Javelina legend joined the university.
I've told people that you could make a movie about Gil Stanky because he was an unbelievable pioneer. He was also a coaching genius. He brought Sid Blanks in here, and he was one of the first black athletes in football in the South. The stories about Sid and having to play in some areas to where they still didn't accept integrated sports, and how he dealt with that. They went into a restaurant in Houston, and the owner told him, said, the team can eat here, but your black athlete will have to eat in the kitchen. And Coach Stanky says, no, we're a team. So we all eat together or we don't eat. And they found restaurants in Houston that would serve Sid with the team.
By the 1960s, the university experienced its third official name change, from Texas College of Arts and Industries to Texas A&I in 1967. Students closed the decade with the adoption of a new fight song, Jalisco. In the 1970s, A&I answered the call of the nation's growing need to train bilingual educators for a rapidly changing population, and in 1975 launched the first doctoral degree in bilingual education. While the work of the university continued throughout the 1970s, including emerging as one of the first ROTC programs in the nation to be open to women and launching the student-run on-campus radio station KTAI, Javelina football was blazing a trail of excellence, earning 5 of the program's 7 national championships throughout the decade. The 1980s solidified the institution's role as the leader in research with the establishment of the Caesar Kleberg Wildlife Research Institute. Today, the institute houses robust research programs with focuses ranging from deer, quail, and waterfowl to wildlife disease, fire ecology, and Texas native seeds. Next year, the institute will open the first ocelot breeding and rewilding facility in the country. When it came to higher education in South Texas, A&I was leading the pack. The university played a vital role in the creation of upper-level institutions of higher learning in both Laredo and Corpus Christi. Institutions now known as Texas A&M International and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Later, in the 2000s, the university also helped launch Texas A&M San Antonio. In 1986, the university's role as leader of the pack was commemorated in the unveiling of the new iconic campus statue. The decade capped off with a singular moment in Javelina history, a move to join the Texas A&M University system in 1989, a decision that opened wide the doors to new resources and vital support. In May of 1990, President George H.W. Bush served as the keynote speaker at commencement. By spring of 1992, Javelina Athletics re-established the university's baseball program, seizing on the region's rich baseball tradition. In 1993, the university embarked on a new era with a new name, Texas A&M-Kingsville. While building on the pride that has linked generations of Javelinas, the university remained driven by the same mission, to serve the region and educate future leaders of South Texas. By 2000, a $3 million NIH grant and the university's groundbreaking biomedical research on snake venom led the Texas A&M University system to officially recognize what is now known as the National Natural Toxins Research Center.
You know, the NNTRC is a special program because we allow undergraduate students to enter into our labs and we train them. These students learn all these different techniques. They learn the theory as undergraduates, which is something that they would not have the opportunity to do so at other bigger universities.
The university continued to expand its research profile in the first decade of the millennium with the creation of the King Ranch Institute for Ranch Management coinciding with the 150th anniversary of the pioneering ranch. The Institute seeks to sustain the region's rich ranching heritage through outreach, education, and innovation. It is home to the world's first master's degree in ranch management. By the 2010s, the university added new residence and dining halls, a new student rec center, and a new home for the university's storied music program.
A&M-Kingsville had a huge place in music in all of South Texas. And it was that way even early on because we were probably the main music school producing music educators. And that's kind of been what we always did. We produced not only band directors, choir directors, orchestra directors, mariachi directors, jazz directors, but elementary music teachers too. So you can't go to a school district in South Texas pretty much without finding at least one of our alumni there.
In 2020, the new music education building opened its doors, and the program finally had a state-of-the-art space befitting of its talent. In our first 100 years, we have proudly served as a beacon of hope and opportunity for all of South Texas, rooted in tradition and community.
If you look at our faculty composition in all of our colleges, they are from all over, and they've made Kingsville their home. So it tells you something about our history, our profile, that we are, yes, we are a very regional, small, rural American university, but we punch above our weight.
What distinguishes us, I really believe from my personal experience and observation, is that we care. It may sound a little corny, but that's the bottom line. When a family sends their student to Texas A&M-Kingsville, they know that not only will they get a good education, but they will be looked after.
And anywhere you go, if you wear a cap or a shirt that's got javelinas on it and you're in an airport in LA or in Denver, wherever, there's going to be somebody come up to you and say, I went to that school, I'm a javelina.
For some, the tradition is a family affair, both by blood and by heart.
Like I said, I got my bachelor's and my master's, and then Annabelle, my daughter, came over here. And then finally, my little girl over here. My little girl finally came over, and Angelica made it over here, a fourth generation. And I said, you know, there could be 4 generations here. More than 1 or 2 or 3, but not one that starts with a first class.
Javelina Nation is a family, and I will always cherish that family.
Met some very dear friends, and we're still, those that are still alive are still friends today. And it was a way of life.
The alumni coming to the institution, to this university, is a lot of heritage. It's a lot of culture here.
And while we close our first century, we take heart in knowing the work of our university continues as we drive South Texas forward to a continuously prosperous future led by a new generation of javelinas.
This 100th year celebration is more than just a celebration. It is a solidifying of the legacy.
I just want to make sure that the next 100 years are still filled with happy memories for the students, making sure that they're able to leave this and be great on their career after this university.
You know, I've been fortunate to work with a lot of good people. And you know, those people, whether it's people who teach, people who are on staff, or people in administration, I'm really proud of them for what they've been able to do, what they've been able what they've been able to make happen here at the university. We've been through a lot, and yet we are still here doing the job of educating the students in South Texas.
We're changing lives. I mean, we are absolutely changing lives down here, and it matters. And these are, you know, the people that we're serving and getting to are the people that need the opportunity and have the grit to seize the opportunity.